Welcome, love. Good evening.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So, a very warm welcome to all of you to another yet Learning Saturday session. This will be a power-packed one. And before we set out into our much-awaited session, I would like to give you a short overview of who we are and what we do at IIT Bombay's DS School of Entrepreneurship. So we are on a mission to foster entrepreneurship in IITB as well as the country at large. And the WIE program was started 2 years back and is admissioned with support from CGI India to enable and build a nurturing ecosystem for women and entrepreneurs. The WIE program facilitates growth trajectory of women entrepreneurs through the necessary guidance in the realms of design thinking, leadership, communication, and finance. And some of our initiatives include Learning Saturdays, just like today, and Netritva leadership talks and Margdarshan, which includes an ongoing startup clinic and domain-specific mentoring. And we work closely with the key building blocks on the ecosystem like Sign, eCell, and the Entrepreneurship Club of SGM Zone. So today we are going to talk about pitch decks. And I know writing a first investor pitch deck is an overwhelming process for many startup founders, and you have to calculate your market, figure out your go-to-market strategy and your financials carefully. So I believe a lot of us get stuck halfway, and the first challenge here is that a pitch deck is a tool to paint a quick and exciting picture of a business opportunity, and sometimes that idea is not fully formed, or sometimes the founders haven't had the chance to sit down and figure out some key business components. And as they build their pitch decks, they realize that they need to stop and go think about it. And 2 years back, I think it was Love Sir who took us ahead on the journey. And definitely, we have only grown since then. And in this session, we are going to cover how to answer these business questions and how to translate them into writing in the format that investors expect. So we have Dr. Love Sarin with us today. I believe many of you already know him. He's an IIT Bombay alumnus in chemical engineering, a PhD from Brown University, an entrepreneur himself, and was with Reliance in an entrepreneurial role before he joined the DS school to lead the Ideas program. He has designed and developed this program, and there are several success stories of the startups that he has mentored, including some of us who are already present today. So over to you, Love Sir, and happy to learn from you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the nice introduction. Happy to see the crowd, and looking at the crowd, I'm like, am I here to tell you or am I here to learn from you guys? Because you are the doers, you are on the ground. But anyway, I'll try my best. And if there are questions, I think that will be even better. If you ask me a question, I would be able to answer specifically what is the query, what is going on in your mind,
Sure.
Struggling with. But anyway, I have tried to structure it in some way to, help you think through. And let's see, hopefully it will help. If it doesn't, let me know. I'll try to improve as well. But yeah, let's get started. Thank you so much. Yeah, is the slide visible?
Yeah, it is.
All right. So let me start with a recent incident. About 5 days ago, it was a very hectic day for me. Not that before that or after that there have been no hectic day, but this day particularly was very hectic. One of those days where there were back-to-back meetings. I had woken up very early. I had slept the previous night very late. And I was just busy. I was very tired, very exhausted. So around this time, I think I went to take a nap. And then a little later, when the sun had already set, it was dark, I received a phone call from an unknown number. But Truecaller these days helps you to guess some random name. It flashes on your screen, so you see, oh, this is the number, this is the name, because numbers you don't remember at all, but looking at the name that is flashing on the screen, you can recall, oh, this person has earlier called as well. And I remembered that I had actually received that call multiple times during the day when I was busy and I just could not return the call. And the number was not known, the name was not known, but looking at whatever was on the screen, I could recall that this person has been trying to reach to me, and it's obviously not a delivery from Amazon or, FedEx or something. Otherwise, they would have just dropped it and would have gone by now. So something is there. So I picked up the call, but I was very disoriented at that time, being tired. You remember the days when you suddenly wake up middle of this nap, which is not fully there, and you are like, is it day, is it night? Was it the night sleep that I was taking, or was it the day that I was taking? And suddenly I'm attending the call, and this person tells me that, sir, I came to your house about 4 or 5 days ago. You had called for a courier service, a VFast, pickup. So I picked it up from somewhere in Navi Mumbai, and I dropped it at your house. Today I'm in an emergency. There is something going on, and I need 10,000 rupees. What would you do if you receive such a call? Any thoughts?
I would say I need 20,000.
I need a few lakhs.
No. You are receiving the call. You have to now decide whether to give or not.
I'll tell him samne se ki I need a few lakhs. From there, I'll give you 10,000.
All right. Cut the call. There is someone saying that.
I think I would ask for, why do you need, first and foremost is, why do you need it
Yeah.
in the first place?
Yeah. I was actually completely unprepared to understand the situation and, know any better. But I still told him, somehow something in me told me that, it's COVID times. We don't know, maybe it is a real emergency or whatever. So at that time, I just said that 10,000 is too much. I mean, I don't even know you, and, you just came to my house, and I didn't say that, but that was what was going on in my mind, right? So let me complete that first. So I told him, actually, that is not important. Now, let's come to the important part. What was the struggle that I was going through? That I did not know this person at all. The moment when he came to do the delivery, at that time, it was a different number. This is a different number. I don't have it saved. I don't know where he's calling from at all. And I don't know whether it is a genuine request or not, right? So whatever may be the outcome, hello, am I still audible?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I just saw something froze, and the Zoom has crashed during the day 2-3 times. So I was just wondering. If it would have been someone else, let's say if it was a watchman who guards our building, would my reaction be different in that case? Would your reaction be different?
Yes.
Yes.
If
it would be, let's say, the watchman in a building which is, a couple of buildings next to you, not the immediate one, maybe you see them, you have not interacted with them, maybe you have interacted with the watchman in your building, but with the other one, but you see them, they are there always. Would it be different?
Yes.
Would it be more positive?
No, less positive than our own building watchman.
But more positive than this random person calling.
Right. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Why is that? Why that happens? Familiarity, right?
Yeah.
We know, we can find them, we understand them. There is some connectedness that has developed. There is some trust. Gaurav has just written that over there. There is some trust. There is some credibility. Very nice, Deepika. Right? So now imagine you are asking an investor for money whom you don't know, they don't know you, and they are just receiving a random email, maybe through their portal, and there are tens and hundreds of such emails that they receive on daily basis or monthly basis. They are looking for that data, that indicator, that metric to be able to trust in some way. So remember that part. This trust part is very important, and it comes or it builds over time through many ways. It could be that you met them and long time back and were in touch with them, you are keeping in touch with them, and then when you need them at that time you approach them. That itself has kind of generated that trust with the familiarity, with the updates that you have kept giving them, etc. And then there are other factors also, right? Maybe we'll see some of that, but this I think is the core. And this happened recently, and I was about to come for this workshop, so I could actually relate both of these situations in some ways, and I thought I'll share it with all of you, so it will also help you reflect. So with that, now we know that maybe that person had a better chance of asking for money from a different person. We'll not get into what happened with me, whether I gave or not, but we know that they had a better chance asking a different person. Whom do you have chance with? So if we have to think about whom can we raise money from as entrepreneurs, as startup founders, what comes in your mind? Who are the people who typically would invest in a startup?
Friends, angel investors.
Friends, angel investors, anyone else?
The founders, of course.
The founders, of course, yeah, right. You have to sometimes borrow money.
Yeah.
What when you are the founder?
Sorry, say it again.
What when you are the founder?
What when
Yeah,
you
that's
are...
what we said.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Founders also have to pitch in many times. They're expected to, and it could be in different ways. So it could be the self, team, it could be friends and family, it could be your network, it could be angels, it could be your institutional investors like VCs, etc. And hopefully the amount keeps increasing as we go through these motions, through these stages of investors. Now, what would they need to know? What would convince them? What would help them in making their decision? Are all of them same? Are all of them looking for something similar from this opportunity or this idea or engaging with you? Any thoughts?
No, definitely.
So if
Profit, I guess.
self,
Friends and this would just like look more from the friendly relation and things like. Obviously, investors would look what they get in the whole thing.
so let's go one by one. Let's look at the self and team first. What do you consider before you invest, or why does a team member invest or doesn't invest?
We believe in the idea, first of all, and the vision.
Okay.
And we understand the purpose behind the requirement for the investment.
Yeah. So that is given. What prompts you to
Conviction,
put in the money?
the conviction, why, the
Conviction.
rootedness.
Okay. वो तो
Trust.
है, वो तो
Trust.
है, तभी तो आप उस पे काम कर रहे हो और अपनी लाइफ उस पे लगा दी आपने.
Because it's our decision, to start this entrepreneurial journey. So the
Yes.
investment comes from there, and when we are looking at the resources with which we start, so that initial investment resource is also kind of built into our planning process.
Yes. So we are committed. We want to do all that.
Profit.
It's our thing. Profit could be a motivator. So can you elaborate on that?
Means,
Can I? Yeah. Can I share?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, a story, definitely some kind of a story in the background, where there is some experience or some vision, a very, very clear vision, even if it's at a seed stage, and more importantly, a business plan in
We are
place.
talking about self and team here first.
Okay.
So you have started So you are anyway convinced about the idea, you are working on it. Now we are talking about, apart from working on it, you also put in money in addition to that. What prompts you to do that? What prompts a founder to do that?
Can I?
Yes, go ahead.
According to me, your vision, passion, or values, or both the founders, values should be matching, or you both are on the same page. I'll give you, because this is from my experience, how I found my co-founder. When I briefed the idea, I narrated everything. We both were on the same page, and our values were matching, our passion, everything was similar. That's how we came together and decided to, take.
So, I agree on all that, but that is the precondition to coming together and starting to work on the idea, right?
Yeah.
Now I'm asking, why would you put in your money?
So
For the pilot,
basically, you have, when you have the conviction that this idea would be going forward, and you can actually earn something out of it at the end of it. So at that point, you are actually prompted to put in your money itself, right? Yeah.
for the pilot.
Yeah, basically anything, right?
So,
because of the passion and that trust. Passion and trust.
I think there are two reasons. One is because, we believe in the idea, and we want to continue. We believe in the idea, and we believe in our capability to make it right. So that is one.
Okay.
So this is the official answer. And the unofficial answer is because we are all mad people, because we start off by ourselves.
Irrational.
So that's, yes. So that's the other answer.
See,
So can I add to this?
Yeah.
I think skin in the game.
skin in the game.
Yeah, the risk aspect where you're ready to risk your own, right?
Yeah.
And see what's at stake. That itself is a big testament to the fact that you believe in this. Whether you yourself are taking back a salary or not as you go forward, and things like that, all that just shows skin in the game.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
According to me, yeah.
So, what I would say is, passion and all is good, but that is what got you in it anyway. You have put in your life. Basically, to put in additional money and not raising from elsewhere, there can be various other reasons. It could be that you want the skin in the game, you want to show commitment to other team members, you want to keep your stake at certain level compared to others, or you want to raise your stake, or sometimes it is just the ventilator support. No one else is putting in money, but this needs to happen. If you can source it by yourself in some way, then you do that. And that self and team could be your money. And at times when you are probably students, it's the money that you try to gather from grants and competitions and all that, right? So that is another way of trying to do some jugaad, trying to get that early pilot, that early prototype done, and then moving further. All right. So now, why would the friends and family invest? What are they?
Trust, basically, which they have on you.
What do they have on you?
Trust and relationships.
Trust and relationship.
Yeah.
Morale.
Right. So they're investing in you, and they likely suffer from something called association bias, right? They may have seen you do something good in the past, and they believe that this is also something good that you may do, and it will turn out to be good. They may not have any idea about what are the chances, what is the market, but they like you and they want you to go out and try it, and they believe in you and they will invest, right? But their investment is basically in you. You is what they understand, they believe in, and you is what they will invest in. What is the network? So, professional network in the space that you are maybe starting, the advisors, etc. Why would they invest? What are they interested in? What drives them?
In my case, what happens is I support a lot of NGOs. So many times I always say that inherently people are good. Everybody wants to do nice in the society and they don't have the time and things. So they say that, okay, through you, like it's happening kind of. So
Yeah. Very much.
So please go ahead.
This I haven't.
I give you this and
Yeah. This I haven't put it as, NGO perspective, but more or less it is the same, right? There is a vision alignment. They understand the space. They know, yes, this is something that needs to be done. They may be wrong ki ye solution and problem statement, right hai, wrong hai. Maybe they haven't done the customer discovery and all those, granular things themselves. But at a high level, they know where the space is going. They believe that, yes, this is something that needs to happen. Someone needs to do it. And they align with that vision, right?
Yes.
Angels and institutional investors.
Scalability?
Sorry, say it again.
Scalability of the venture?
Scalability of the venture. Okay. What else?
Basically, ROI.
ROI. Yeah.
Valuation and exit for themselves.
Valuation and exit for themselves. That's what all of them are looking for, likely. What's the difference between angels and investors? Institutional investors that come at a later stage.
Angels are individuals who can invest their own money, and VCs invest the money of other individuals, actually.
Yeah. And then how does that affect what are they looking for in the idea at that moment when they're making that investment?
So angels can be similar to the network. They can have a vision alignment with you.
Very
and
true.
They
Very
can
true.
invest.
Very true. What else differentiates them?
And VCs are basically, they have an obligation to book profit for the LPs.
Yeah. Very good. So you see, it's getting more and more professional. It was more until this point, it was just a belief in you, in the space, in the vision. And now we are suddenly talking about ROI, valuations, exits, return to LPs and all those kinds of things, right? So the lines are completely changing. It's a different lane we are moving into. And as I didn't catch your name. Who was speaking?
Akshay.
Yeah. So as Akshay mentioned, angels are very much like network, and that is what it used to be. More and more, they are moving more towards the way institutional investors do investment. But that is why they used to be called angels, because they used to believe in the idea and they would invest in the idea. But the game is slowly changing a little bit, and they are also looking for return, less risk. But by definition, we expect that angels are early stage, they are okay with taking higher risk, right? So what they are looking for at that time, there isn't much. Maybe you have some prototype pilot done, but in a book definition kind of scenario, you may not really have too much proven. So what they are looking for is that, are you committed and are you performing? Whatever you have done in the past, are you progressing? Or have you been sitting on this idea for 10 years now? So do you even have the commitment and whatever energy to show some progress, to perform, right? If you come up and say, within 6 months, this you have done, and then they say, okay, that's nice, do this more and come back to me. And then you go back to them after 2 months, then that will get them excited that, yes, this guy actually did what I was looking for, and there is commitment, and there is performance, there is progress, it's moving forward, right? Whereas in institutional investors, now they are mostly looking for the returns. And the main thing that excites them is the traction. If you have traction, if you have growth, everything else is answered. That is the main thing that they are looking for. Everything else will build to that. That is the end goal, right? And ultimately, this will end into higher valuations and exits and all those kinds of things. But at this stage, when they're coming in, this is what they really want to see. And what is the recipe of getting that? What are the ingredients that we need to get to show traction and growth?
Hi, I just had a question. May I?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes angels, we have started our discussions for seed. So most of the times, what angels come around saying, telling us that we would be interested only if VCs are also interested, because we see the big names, and the risk factor gets very less. But it's very contradictory, and it puts us in a spot, because VCs will come and say that you are too early for us. So how do you kind of manage that and try to move forward from that kind of spot?
See, first of all, it is very difficult to figure out, do they really mean what they're saying? Because sometimes all these different things that they say are only polite reasons to say no. They did not understand it, and they are saying, go ahead and find someone who would understand it, because we did not. Right? So your better bet would be to find the other angels who may actually understand it, because they have not understood it at all. And we'll come to it, what they need to understand. Right?
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So coming back to the recipe, the ingredients that we need to get traction and growth, what would that be? Any ideas? What gets us there?
Uniqueness.
Say it again.
Team.
Team. Very good. What else?
Uniqueness.
Uniqueness.
Established business model.
Established business model.
At this stage, they will want to see some evidence of.
So that is, in a way, saying traction with growth is showing business model, but
scalable business.
Yeah, evidence of.
Go ahead. Pranay?
Scalable business model.
Scalable business model.
Scalable business model.
Okay. Yes.
A minimum viable product.
A minimum viable product. Yeah. Very much. All right. So all good answers. So basically, all those are good. One, definitely you need team who can execute. You need a very clear problem to be able to target the right customer and to be able to actually sell something to them in a unique solution, which no one else has or is doing in a better way, than you. That is why someone will adopt you rather than someone else. And a very refined and nice your go-to-market or growth strategy, right? So this is what you need. The other things are also there, and they will also enable it. But this is kind of the input that will go in there. This, the market size is needed to show that the traction and growth you are seeing can actually take it to a high level where the valuations and everything can be very high, right? But market size is not going to affect your execution on the ground. To make the execution happen, to make customers, to first of all find the customers, then to bring them this solution, to be able to reach to them, to be able to show this traction and growth. These are the ingredients that you need, right? All other things are part of the story, which you also need to have. But this you need with absolute clarity, precision, refinement. This is where you need to really work on to get that result out. And before, as we talked about, you get the money, you need to win their trust and confidence. So it's really about understanding what they are looking for and giving it to them in such a way that it makes sense to them so that they can understand. And it may happen just the way, there was someone asking that they may not, one investor may not understand, two investors may not understand. But if you have done this part right, if you have really figured out a clear problem, if you have really figured out a unique solution, if you have a strategy and that is proving on the ground, and you have a balanced team that can execute, then you already have something that is nice, that is good on your hand. right? Investors cannot tell you that it is not true. It is. Whether or not they may like it or they may buy into that idea. Then you may need to question, do I go for investment or do I bootstrap or do I adopt another strategy? Or find the investor. And that is where, you know, maybe the metrics that they are looking for are different. So for example, the person who asked about the angel part, right? That angels are looking for the VCs to be interested. Maybe they are looking for the metrics that VCs would like to see, and they are not ready to take the risk right now because they have started, many angels have started to behave like investors in these days. Or maybe they are not seeing the scale, maybe they're not convinced with the pitch, and we will get into that part in the coming slides. Yeah, Dr. Nayan Mitra, you have a question?
Yeah, my question is, you know, when we are looking at this entire, you know, the stages, like from self to investors to VCs, most of them are kind of, they invest in products, okay, into businesses that have a product portfolio. There are very few who kind of invest in the advocacy space. So either they're investing in product or services, and they are not kind of investing in any advocacy space. So, you know, why is this difference, you know, between advocacy and?
See, everyone has this understanding, their own experience, their own specialty, right? Someone invests in SaaS, someone invests in deep tech because that is what they understand or they can handle. So everyone is not going to invest in everything. It's, although it looks like, and it more or less is, but about money, but just because a business may make money, every investor will not come to it, first of all. So for a different nature of business, there are different types of investors and you will need to reach out to them. And then comes the bigger question, is there a business model? Is there an ROI that can be brought out for the investors for that investment? What is it that they are looking for? So here, every investor will have a different expectation, right? Your network, your friends and family, you yourself are happy if you just get any return and if things succeed and just go and become a sustainable business, right? But your angels and institutional investors, they are looking for 30x, 100x types of returns. They may not get it from all the companies they invest in, but that's their expectation to see, at least on the book, at least on the plan. Because if they can't see that, then that means that they are exposing too much, you know, to a company which doesn't even have that kind of potential. So they would like to have all of the companies promising such a rosy picture. Obviously, some may fail and some may succeed, so it will even out and it will give them decent return overall. Yeah. Okay. I hope that answers your question, Dr. Mitra.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. All right. So now we understand what is going on in their mind a little bit. We have to create a pitch deck, right? And assuming it is the angels and institutional investors, those are the people who we really need the pitch deck for. So what would make it convincing? Where should we start? What should be the first thing that we need to tell them? Any guesses? Now, don't guess just randomly. Do a thought experiment here. Imagine someone is coming to you for investment. You have to invest in them. What is the first thing that you want to know?
Team and background.
Is that the first thing that you would want to know?
Elevator pitch.
Elevator pitch.
You want to know the problem?
Problem, right?
Person.
Problem. First
Maybe
of all,
if you,
what is the problem that they are trying to solve?
and if you express it through a story, it's even better, I guess.
It will be even better, right? So the first and foremost thing that an investor is trying to understand, because they also are inundated with such requests and pitches and everything, right? So team and all, they know I mean, you are approaching them.
How different you are.
Yes, it will also, we will come to that. But I think the first and foremost, does that difference matters? Difference may not matter unless there is not a good problem to solve. So the first and foremost thing that they are really looking for and trying to understand is, what is the problem that is unsolved that you have taken the charge and leadership to solve now? So that should be your first slide, the problem slide. After the title slide, obviously, don't start with problem slide as a title slide. But yeah, first of all, is this a real problem? Someone is willing to pay, when it occurs, what kind of impact it has. So you need to paint that picture in a very, very clear manner. Why are we even talking? Why are you here? Now assume that you have answered that. Now they understand and they believe, oh, okay, this is an interesting problem. What's the next question that you would want to know?
What's the solution?
What's the solution, right? So now we come to solution. And what is unique about this solution that no one else can do and no one can replicate? So do you really have something that others will not be able to do, right? What are you doing unique that others are not doing? When we talk about the problem there itself, we want to know why none other solutions are working out, right? Why it is even a problem, even in the time when other solutions might be there to some extent. So what is the problem even when there are other alternatives or something? And then how are you solving it? What is the unique way that you are solving it? Someone had a question?
Here the time frame doesn't come like in environment. What I feel is more important is the consistency that you're doing a particular thing. It may be very unique, the solution. Like, I mean, you know, yesterday I was hearing someone, he was talking about some electronic trash can and things like that. The solution is very different and all. But it is totally, means, you know, it's like a big bang kind of, abhi aayega aur phus karke chala jayega. Like, but in environment, it's really how long you can continue doing that same thing. So isn't that important in your, it may be a very small thing like composting.
No. So
very, very
first of all, how are you judging that this solution will come and go and this solution will stay?
Like, for example, now if I say composting, it sounds, there's no rocket science about it. But what is unique here is, क्यों लोग ये करेंगे? तुम्हारा composting, why will people go in for it?
Exactly.
So that is because the time you are able to do it for a long period of time.
No, what is the period of time here?
Over and over, like I have been doing composting for 10 years. Right.
No, so that part is different.
So when I have to suggest to someone that I have come with the composting as a solution, problem is our waste, and wet waste ka solution is composting. Okay, there are many, one of the best and this is
wait. You are jumping the gun.
Okay.
Okay. Your expertise, your ability to execute, all that is important. But if the solution is too simple and anyone can do it, you cannot convince completely unknown people who have 100 other plans in front of them that you are the only one who can do it. It will be a very hard sell. So first of all, there has to be some ingenuity, some innovation, some uniqueness, something that others cannot do. Maybe it is some knowledge that you have. But what is that knowledge? That needs to shine here, not your experience. The years do not matter. What the years have taught you and how that reflects in the solution, that matters here.
Okay.
Yeah, so have you gained any insight from those 10 years of experience that you can bring out in the solution that no one can bring?
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Right. So talk about that part. Talk about that part in the problem. Why do you understand the problem so well?
Perfect.
Don't say that I have 10 years of experience. Doesn't matter. Just show me the understanding. So this is very important. People are confused between show and tell. don't tell.
Okay.
Right? Don't tell that you have experience. Show that by actually giving me the insight that I would never had, because I don't have that experience. Don't try to impress by nice presentations and degrees and years and associations and all those kinds of things. The best you can do is inform. If you inform me well, and if I learn 2 new things, I will be impressed. That will impress me. Yes, this person knows something that no one else has told me so far.
Problem here could be the point that why no one is composting. That is the problem.
It could be. I'm just talking generically.
I'm asking you, like, I mean, that's how I have to look at it, right?
Huh.
And now I'm understanding from you. Basically, till now I was saying that wet waste, taking care of wet waste management is a problem, and composting was the solution. But now, as you rightly said, wet waste management is not the problem. The problem is why everybody is not doing wet waste management.
I'll have to likely get into more detail than that.
Okay.
May not be sufficient. If we have time, we can do one-on-one cases also.
Yes.
First, complete the full picture for everyone, and then we'll get.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah.
All right. So now, let's say you have something unique, and the investor understands that there is some problem that no one has solved, and it's an important problem. It should be solved, and you have the solution. What is the next thing that comes to the mind? What do I want to know now?
Implementation.
Yeah, method.
Okay.
How are you going to do it? How are you going to come get a solution? How are you going
A
to
plan, business plan.
Business plan तो यही बना रहा है business plan.
Strategy. This is strategy plan.
It's an investor. What
How do you get your first customers?
Budget.
Budget तो बाद में आता है.
Who will buy?
Who will buy, right? Who will buy?
Target customer.
What is the target customer? How big is the market?
Market
What
size.
are you going to focus on? You have a problem, you have a solution, but is this big enough? Is this going to make me millions or billions, or only tens and hundreds? Right? So that is the biggest thing in my mind to know. I really want to know that as soon as possible. Now I know about that. Now I know that, okay, there is big enough market also. What is the next thing that I want to know?
What is your, again, I don't know, maybe wrong. What is the strategy to tap this market? Maybe,
Go-to-market strategy.
I think before that, there is a concern that is in my mind. Can you tell me what is I'm concerned about?
Who are the competitors in this space?
Yes, that's a nice problem. Solution भी हो सकता है, market भी बड़ा है, कोई नहीं कर रहा क्या इसको? How is that possible? And if they are, then what are they doing? And how are you really different? What is their strategy? What is your edge? Why would customers choose you? Right? Now what?
So will there also be a question here on when we say segment and why would customers choose you? Would there also be a question on whether more customers would choose you over the competition or anything like that?
See, that is a given.
Okay.
Product in the world जो 100% जनता यूज करती है, right? कोई product कोई यूज करता है, someone finds someone else. So competition will find their customer. We don't need to worry about that. What we need to worry about is your customer persona and why would they really care about your product? Are you different enough to appeal to someone for whom the competition doesn't appeal? Can you create that kind of niche? Is that niche a good enough size? Are you doing things differently that you can outcompete the competition, that you can beat them even in the same customer segment, if that is so? So it can take many shapes. These are indicative questions. Yeah, go ahead.
So I have to actually put ki who are my competitors, or I can just say कि मेरा strategy कैसा अलग. I have to in my slide I'll have to actually say कि ये 4 लोग ये कर रहे हैं. ऐसा बोलना पड़ेगा.
हाँ. आपको indicate करना पड़ेगा.
अच्छा. और मुझे अगर पता ही I have to find it out. क्या?
You have to find it out.
Okay.
You have to find it out.
Okay. Okay.
See, if you are looking for a local business, locality में, then this doesn't matter. But if you are planning to go national,
नहीं, मेरा state का है.
हाँ, तो state level पे और कौन है? Because investor would worry about it, and they would not put in money unless they know कि you are going to be better than others who are in the game, and you know the others, you know them in detail.
Okay.
Right. On the slide, I would not suggest to put in too much detail. You would find that in recent times, there is a nice format to compare yourself with your competition. It's basically plotting yourself and others on 2 axes. Just pick 2 parameters that your customers value and plot yourself and your competitors on those 2 parameters. For example, one could be, I'm just, going hypothetical here. One could be that customers care about efficiency. So, one scale goes from low efficiency to high efficiency, and other scale goes from low cost to high cost. It could be high cost to low cost, so that you are in the top right quadrant with high efficiency and low cost. So try to plot it like that and just give a visual comparison on 2 important parameters which your customers care about. The mistake that many startups do here is that they pick the parameters they think they are better than the competition. That is not enough. You need to pick the parameters which your customers care about, and you need to be better in those parameters. If you're not better in those parameters, then it doesn't matter that you are competing with them, because the point to jayega fir.
So how do we identify these parameters?
By talking to your customers, by identifying the problem first. What is the problem? What parameters do the customers care about?
So it's not
from the problem definition.
That means it will be a constant engagement with customers. It can't be a one-off discussion. It has to be ongoing.
Yes. Maybe cover that part also. I'll cover the customer development process for everyone.
And it can be intangible, right? It can be completely, because when we are talking about efficiency, cost, that's tangible. But if we are talking about, say, credibility, and so we can measure, but how do we then compare between tangible and intangible parameters?
See, in some cases, intangibles would matter more, like entertainment, for example, right? So initially you will have difficulty, but what would be expected out of you would be to convert it into some kind of metric. So for example, if it is entertainment and you are able to engage people more, they spend more time engaging with you than your competitor. So maybe that could be your parameter, where you quantify and put it across as time of engagement, right? For credibility, for example, what does that mean? Are you able to retain more customers with you?
Right.
And your competitor? So initially, you may have struggle, but try to go as quantitative as possible as you move further.
Thank you. Perfect.
Yeah. Product comes next. So now I understand, and I just want to get a better idea of how it will look, what will it do, exactly understanding. I'm getting interested now. So I want to know that now. What is the reality? Tangibly, wo kaisa dikhega, app kaisi dikhegi, product kaisa dikhega, wherever, right? Now what? What do I want to know now? Any guesses? You are the investor. I am pitching to you. Tell me, what do you want to know?
Money, budget.
Huh?
The team
Progress or
time.
traction.
Progress and traction. Good one. Good one. Someone has my slides. Yeah. ठीक है, बड़ी अच्छी स्टोरी है, बट रियलिटी क्या है? कहां तक पहुंचे? कितना de-risk कर दिया है? Do you have the product, MVP, or getting some traction, right? So we are talking about that now. Are you actually doing something or just wishy-washing? सिर्फ stories ही सुना रहे हो? So I'm getting interested in getting to the proof, the progress. And then obviously now I also am interested. Achha, you have done all that. Who are you? Right? So now tell me the team. Right? Who are you? Why is this so nice? Or why is this the idea that you picked? Have you worked together? How well do you gel? If the team is unbalanced, do you have a plan, immediate plan to put in place someone? Because that will be a big red flag. I don't want to wait for you to go and search for people after I put in my money. I want their names now. They may not have joined the team, fine. But will they join the first day and you will start to execute, or will my money wait till they come, decide, or you find and search and 3-6 महीने 1 साल बाद तुम किसी को लेके आओगे और लेके आओगे फिर ट्राई करोगे और वो काम नहीं करेगा फिर किसी और को पकड़ोगे. So investors don't want to take that kind of risk. So I really want to understand, are you balanced enough to execute on the plan? Why you are working together? Will you be able to work together? And if the balance is not there, how will you create that balance? Right? Then what next? Now I have understood a lot of what is there, what are you trying to do? I think many people have been waiting for this. So now comes the financials. How will you make money? What is the budget? What is your margins? The important metrics, etc., that you have achieved with the traction or you expect in your model. What is your burn rate? What kind of growth you are expecting and all that. And then what are you raising now? So, and what will it get you to? What are the next milestones that you will achieve with this money? I am trying to make a mental picture on, would you be able to raise the next round if I give you this money? Or will you come back to me again? Right? So I'm trying to understand that. Is this enough, or what is the plan? Is the story completely tying up together? Or are there some loose ends here and there? And then there is one more thing that you should think about, include in the pitch, which I am a strong proponent of. And someone actually did mention it earlier, which is the story. It should actually go first on your title slide. Start with the story. Start with a hook. Help your investors understand the customer's problem and perspective with a story, not just by defining that this is the problem in the world. No, focus on someone, bring it out, really draw it out. Just go back to the story I told you when we started. Did it help to gain your attention? Were you interested to know more? Did it engage you a little bit more than just started the presentation point blank?
Absolutely.
Same thing will happen. You know, these emotions, the connection, the whole story that you will tell later on about your idea, the vision, it will start to make meaning. It will start to make sense if you are able to do that. All right. Now, I want to highlight on this one, the problem part is very important. It is the most important part. I got that feedback from one of our entrepreneurs that he has faced this. He has seen some positive reaction. Let me check if he is here. Yes, he is here. And you will see his slides. He has been kind enough to share his slides with us. So this part is very important for investors to understand. If they don't understand this, the rest does not matter. They will be zoned out from the very beginning. So here I am presenting to you a couple of slides. So this is the problem slide that one of our cohorts companies, Earth, had about the problem. Does it convey what the problem is? What's the problem that we are trying to solve?
Sir, if you want, I can also.
Ravi.
Air pollution?
Ravi, you should stay silent. It's your slide. You don't need to talk about. You're not presenting here. I'm just trying to get a sense. What does the slide say and how much can people understand?
Okay. The point which I was trying to make was even when you are there and trying to say things, you might the things might not come out well.
All right. Let's see people. You can come. You can come in. I'll let you know when to come in. So yeah, Aparna, you were saying something.
So this is the problem related to air pollution.
Yes.
And probably the need to sanitize the environment or sanitize areas or locations or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Now, anyone else has any comment?
May I?
Yeah.
So I think what the slide wants to tell is like if we are not, because of the COVID, the pollution might come down, but after once the new normal come, pollution will go up, and the airborne diseases as well as harmful effects of the air pollution will be there.
All right.
Yeah, and I think this also shows that one very important thing that over a period of time, whatever the product is, the demand for the product will only go up. It will not go down ever because there's been such a stark change pre-COVID and post-COVID and the new normal time. So that's again, it also shows kind of, a period graph kind of a thing.
Yeah. And you need to project that, right? That's part of your story. Otherwise, investors would be like, okay, now is good, but what happens in future?
Yeah, and it's a brilliant turnout, the way it has been presented with just a few arrows and it kind of tells the whole story in the first slide itself.
Yes, so I'm sure a lot of iterations and effort went into bringing this slide out. But now you tell me, how about this one?
This somewhere leading to maybe an idea of the product, is it? Or the solution that
it's trying to convey and leading to what the solution should be, right?
Right.
Yeah. It's
because
kind of
ultimately
telling
we want to sell the
we are
solution.
there. Yeah.
Yes.
We are there for you. So it's kind of telling, yes, whatever the problem is, we are there for you. So it's coming as
It's going to
bringing
lead
out that
there.
help.
It's going to lead there, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and we'll let Ravi chip in. Here is another one.
Oh my God, that is a scary one.
And this really makes you it, right? Rather than those words and cartoons. Now, as they say, a picture speaks 1,000 words.
The hair on fire need is seen here.
It is
So
actually
this-
the most effective.
This is the evolution of his problem slide. And Ravi, now you can speak. Now you can share your experience. And
Yeah, I just wanted to share that the slides.
Yeah.
Even when I was there, right? I tried to convey my message, but still, because everybody is kind of focused to what you are showing on the screen, right? your pitch might not help, right? And how you create a story. If you, sir, can you go to the third slide, the two slides back?
This one?
Yeah, yeah. For example, how the pitch also changed. Here I was like, pre-COVID, the problem was air pollution, but now the problem is airborne disease transmission. Post-COVID, air pollution was much better, but the problem was airborne disease transmission like COVID. And in the new normal, we are going to face this challenge that both will be a problem, and ours will be the only solution that is going to affect, like, help against both, that is disease transmission and air pollution. No other air can do that. So this was my pitch, a really bad one. Go to next step. So here it was like, now the problem is airborne disease transmission. We don't have that kind of confidence whenever we go out, and definitely we don't, whenever we are talking with people, we don't have that kind of assurance which we had previously, and that's what we are trying to change. This was our problem statement. So next, sir. And here it was, this can be a permanent feature. Do you feel safe when you, let's say, dine out with your friends and family in a public restaurant? Do you feel safe when you are with another person in an elevator? I'm sure not. This is the problem that we are trying to solve, and that's how it changes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thanks so much. I am happy, glad that you were present here and you could actually add that. Thanks so much.
The words have all gone.
Yeah,
and
exactly, right. And
it hits you so badly, straight.
Yeah. You can feel it inside you.
And you know, even Ravi does not need to speak on this now. It can speak for itself. Thank you, Ravi, for sharing this.
All right. So this is what you need to also focus on. How can you make them understand it better? How can you bring it out strongly so that they connect and they understand it, even if they don't know, they are not from there. Many times you may be representing or solving a problem for a customer segment which has nothing to do with the persona that your investors have. They may be a completely different market. I mean, not market. I mean, they're not the market. They're not your customers at all. The profile is completely different. Here in this case, at least it's so common that everyone could be a customer. Everyone is getting affected. But in many cases, you won't even have that luxury. And you need to bring that out. You need to bring that connection. You need to bring that, feeling to your investors. They should be able to feel for your customers, what they are going through. And that is where the story and the problem slide and the, amalgamation would work out its wonders if you do it right. So with this, now that's the story part, but then numbers are also important. Numbers also show, what is actually happening. How are you performing? Where are you getting? So remember in the first slide when we talked about traction and growth, those are great numbers. If you meet an investor in a falling elevator, not an elevator which is rising and it will take 30 or 60 seconds. I am saying if you meet them in a falling elevator, which is falling and it will only take 10 seconds to hit the ground, and you tell them, I'm working on an idea, I have so much revenue and I have 100% month-on-month growth. They'll say, if we are saved, if we live, tell me more about it. They will get interested. If you can show that you are already able to get traction, if you are able to get growth, that is what they are actually looking for. वो ये सब ड्रामा करके उनको ultimately वो ही पूछना है और वो ही समझना है. So even if you start from there, if you are in a very short conversation, it will catch their attention. Here is an example slide, and that can be done in one slide. Here's an example from one of our teams. And I believe this was used in their Y Combinator demo or something like that, on which they further raised hundreds of thousands of dollars. But the key message is there. The problem is clear, the scale is clear, and we know that they are performing, they can do it. If you can bring that kind of clarity out, I don't think the angels that told you कि VC से जाके बात करो पहले, they will tell you that. They'll be like, नहीं, किसी से बात मत करो. Let me first get in the door. उसके बाद बाकियों को बताएंगे. All right. So with that, I'm going to just summarize and take questions. So depending on the stage you are at, first of all, find an appropriate investor, get your key ingredients right, connect with people early, try to make network, be there. Nowadays, LinkedIn is a great way to be there, to create a history. Even if you have not connected with a person, they are going to go and check on LinkedIn what you have been up to for past year or so. So if you are hitting any milestones, if you are doing anything nice, if people are coming and joining you, get it all out there, post about it, talk about it, brag about it, so that when they will go back and look, the history is there. They can look at it. Maybe they didn't know you, but now they know you. Now they can see that, yes, how you have been progressing. Focus on a convincing flow with strong evidence. The evidence will come from the market. You can't make up evidence. It will come. Sorry. Just I need to, yeah. Evidence will come by talking to customers, by doing the work, by making it happen, by gaining traction. That is the evidence that as you go more serious and serious investors, towards more serious investors, the stronger evidence, the data will be required. And then design for clarity and ensure that the key message is delivered effortlessly. Work on it, no matter how many iterations it takes, it will get better. Get people to review, comment, see what they got out of it, what they understood, and improve upon it. With feedback from investors also, every next pitch could be better. And then use the story to create the hook and substantiate with data. That's it. All the best. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question, if I
Yeah.
may.
Yeah.
Okay, so now there are so many kind of investors that you mentioned in the grouping initially, right? My company has actually already been invested in. I just want to know, because we will be going for the next round. I just want to know how important it is to find an alignment with a kind of investor. I mean, how can I easily find out information? Should I go to their other portfolio companies, or are investors very sector loyal at a later stage? So how can I find out more about those investors? Because it's very important to be aligned, right? In terms of the ethos and the vision as partners together going forward.
Yeah. Very much, very much. So definitely, I mean, they have preferences, sectoral preferences as well, and their own experience, their own networks in those sectors, which is why they prefer, because if it comes a time to help a company, then they can help those companies much better. So their money, they know, is in safe space where they can actually intervene, they can actually do, rather than, completely forgetting about it. So, and there can be many reasons, many other reasons. There can be synergies that they are looking for. Definitely, I think one way is to research typically what are the sectors, what kind of companies they are investing in, what kind of companies their competitors are investing in. And if, they have invested in something like where you are, maybe these guys would also be interested in following on that step, because they are all looking for such, catching on the trends, what is picking up. So if they haven't found something like that yet, but their competitor has found, they may also get interested in that. But better would be to directly connect, get a quick review, either with them, someone in the team, or through the portfolio company at best, to maybe find that way. But you have to have a dialogue somewhere. You can only assume and think about it to some extent by yourself. ultimately some data validation has to happen, some assumption validation has to happen, and that will happen by actually talking to people. So you will have to talk to them or someone in the know.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
I have two questions.
Yeah.
The first one is something that I just did today. How safe and how good it is an idea to work with your local corporator?
That is a very different question.
He's my VC or investor or whatever, I don't know.
The session is getting recorded.
Because I'm going to meet him on Wednesday.
Can I come in on that?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so Srilata, I am also talking to local corporators. In fact, I have an appointment with somebody from the parliament directly on Monday.
Okay.
And I generally, the ones who are on the ground are interested in genuine work if you are doing genuine work. And they will listen to you and they will support you.
It's safe, na? Chalega. I mean, I've never done something like that.
No, absolutely.
Think of the best case scenario. Don't think anything negative. And then again, look at them as your customers. See, investors are also
exactly
buying into your idea.
Social impact will work with government body support, and you will get it through these people. So they are your go-to first.
You know why I'm doing this? Is because of this thing which I'm really struggling. I don't have a team. I have everything. I have the problem solutions. I don't have a team. And I've been struggling for that for 10 years now.
Yeah.
So actually I'm looking work with the system because they have the team. So I just,
it's okay.
Yeah. So that's my selfish or hidden thing.
No, that is okay. That is completely okay. The only thing is you need to figure out what is their selfish reason and are you able to fulfill that? They must be looking for something that they don't have. Are you able to?
That is a very, very different agenda today. Anyway, let's not get well into that.
Sure.
Dr. Sarin, a quick question.
Right. Thanks, Aparna. Thanks for that.
Yeah. Someone has a question?
Yep. Yeah. So these days, we're not doing so many in-person sessions. So usually there's a little bit of a communication that there is a send ahead deck where usually I have a lot of the same things, but with more text on it, given that I'm not around. How would I vary the content so that the investor is still a little interested or surprised when I pitch versus my send ahead deck? How would I change the content and the story between the two?
See, story cannot come through the deck really, right? You can only communicate so much. Even if you add text, you can't make it completely text heavy, otherwise they will not read. So you still need to keep it minimum so that it is aesthetically appealing and comfortable and easy on eyes. And the only thing is that even with that, it has to convey. So if there is a problem slide like that, that we showed, it conveys something, then the solution conveys something. Maybe some text will be required, but not as much as that you would speak. The story, the customer story that you would tell in person, that may not be there. Your personal story of why you are doing this, that may not be there, right? So some of it will come and it will put it in a very different light and, it will make it more engaging and interesting. So my guess is that do your best with the send in deck, but then do even better with your pitching when you get that chance, and it will make a difference. Sometimes if you feel that the sending deck is not converting, maybe you need to send a 1-page or 2-page executive summary to give a narrative also, to help them understand some things which you were not able to, tie together in the deck or something. But most likely these days, people just want to look at a very light deck, not too text heavy. It has to be clear. So you should be safe with that. If you are facing any problem, we need to work on why it is not communicating, what it is not communicating. In your email, in your cover letter, you need to write something where you can highlight some traction, progress, which will pick their interest. and then they get into the detail in the deck. So my guess is don't worry about that. It may not convey everything that you will convey when you are present physically or presenting, to them. But if the deck is done nicely, if the storyline is proper, if the numbers are there, if the pictures are there of your product or whatever, it should be able to pick their best.
Got it. So it doesn't matter that I'm presenting a very similar version when I pitch as well, as long as I'm able to build a story around.
Yes. You should, because otherwise they may get confused. कि अरे present भेजा तो वो था, अभी presentation different हो रहा है. They may have some questions that they have framed based on what they saw. Some of them will get answered with your presentation as you speak. Some will be unanswered and they will but ask those. But if you change the deck, it will completely disorient them and they may be a little flustered. So don't change the deck, I would say. Keep
That's
this.
brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was my confusion. Thank you very much.
Sure.
How important is the team and organization chart in the pitch?
Organization chart is not that important. I mean, how big an organization do you have? You have a couple of people most likely, right? So some titles and
Regarding the founding team,
do
we need to mention in the pitch?
Founding team is more than enough. Apart from that, if you have any very key roles, you can mention on the slide, or otherwise you can just say that we have 10 more people who are in these kinds of roles who are supporting us, or 100 more people, whatever you have. But you don't have to give an organization chart at this point. That's not the main focus. If you have traction and all, then see, this is not going to be the only time you will meet or discuss. After this, once they get seriously interested, they will do some due diligence, and that's when more details will come out. They will ask and all. So they will do all the verification checks and all. You should not overload them with information at this point. It has to be enticing and exciting for them to get interested, and enough for them to stay interested, not enough for them to say no.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Can you please tell about the exit plan during an investment talk?
Exit plan. What do you want to know about it?
Investor exit plan, like projections and all, we will be showing, right? And the exit plan, how many years he can exit.
Financial projections. So it's about 5 years projections that you need to show. And look at the industry, look at the industry benchmark. Look at in your industry, how has been the trend? Until what time do people raise money? At what multiples do they get exits? So it has to follow that trend. Your plan cannot be a completely new thing that you are going to invent in the world. So don't promise anything like that. Just look at the industry benchmarks.
Thanks a lot, sir.
Sure.
Hi. Hi. So can I ask?
Yeah, go ahead.
So we are a very small, nascent stage right now. So when would be the best time to go in and ask for investments? Because we just started out, tractions are very slow right now, and very small tractions we're making right now. So is it the right time to go, or will we have to wait until we make better tractions?
It's very difficult. It's very difficult to say on a generic, overview like that. It is very case specific. Some ideas get picked up much early on, even without traction, even without product. People just think that, this has to be there. And some ideas need much more proof. Sometimes, especially if such ideas have been tried before and people have failed, so people have more reservations about them. If it's something that everyone is looking forward to and no one has been able to crack, and you have the solution, they will be more favorable and they may come in more early. Matches with their investment thesis that, I want to invest in the best AI companies in this year, 5 companies or something, and you come in and you really have something where it should be done with AI, and you have a good solution, good promise, good team, they may come early. In some other cases, they may not even understand why are you even using AI? Why can't you do that with Excel? So it's very variable. I cannot really give a generic answer.
Okay. Thank you.
Happy to interact one-on-one and see.
Yeah, sure. Love, there are a couple of questions on the chat, and there are 3 members who have raised their hands. So Devika, Pranay, and Dr. Nayan Mitra.
All right. So yeah, Devika, you want to go first? Or Pranay? I cannot.
Yes, sir. Hello, Pranay here.
Yeah.
So we are into wind turbines, renewable energy space. Okay. So we have developed a rooftop wind turbine, which is patentable. Okay. But it is for only rooftop energy. So what happens is when we show the business plan, the market is very niche. Like places such as Lonavala, Mahabaleshwar, means basically it can be installed in places where there is wind and less sunlight. Okay, so those places are very less. But the thing with this product is the different scale of this product can be applied on different applications. Like it can be installed on a boat to generate energy. It can be installed on near sea. It can be installed on highway to generate the energy from the vehicle drag. So it has immense application. So till now, what we used to do is we used to focus on the market that we are preparing now, means the niche market, like the rooftop market of Lonavala and Mahabaleshwar. And in future, we will move ahead to the different market like the highways and seashores. But now we are working on a product that is for rooftop. So how should we present our business plan story, sir? Means if we show the market of just the rooftop, the market is less, and it is a bit hard to capture. So how should we show the story? Like in future, we can do this like that or what?
You already gave the answer.
Okay.
The answer is in your question itself. You know it. Why are you hesitant to do it? You should go and watch some videos or read something from Aswath Damodaran. I think he's a professor in US on East Coast, and he writes about stories and valuations.
Okay.
Okay, so read that or listen to him. You know what you need to do.
But so what happens when we show the TAM analysis of just rooftop applications? It is kind of
you can't. It's too small.
Yeah. Okay.
You need to focus or paint a bigger picture. If it is feasible,
okay,
to target that bigger picture, you can say that this is where we will start. This could be the start.
Yes, wine Carlo.
Something else could be start. If in that segment something else has a better chance of success, you should start there. Why start at rooftop? So starting with rooftop has to be defended. Why you are starting here?
Okay. Yes, sir.
Ultimately, if you want investors to be interested, and if there is a feasibility and possibility to do it at a bigger scale with many different applications, etc., then you need to paint that bigger picture. You can't be talking about just this smaller segment and expect people to do their own vision and mental calculation. You have to paint the vision.
Right, sir. Right. So our problem statement should align with the all applications or just this present application that we are focused on presently, or
it depends on how well you communicate it.
Okay.
Start with the application where you would focus. But again, the question is, if it can go into segment A, B, C, D, why are you starting with A? Why not?
If you just join hoke raho.
Right, sir. Right. Yeah.
Right. So if
you,
just a second. Yeah. So if you can answer that first yourself and then show it in the data, and then if you say that I will pick B and start with the problem statement of B, and then later on in your market sizing, you say, well, B is just the starting point. The TAM is much bigger and we can go here, and here. We will need to do these modifications, maybe, just hypothetically. In due diligence, they will figure it out. They will ask details. And at that time, you can get into the detail. But initially, make that case for B very clear, because that is the starting point. If that doesn't start well, then you have nothing, right?
Right, sir, right.
But why that be and how that be, that all has to be very clear.
Basically, you are saying that focusing on a niche and then to show the picture of how
Bigger
this,
picture.
yeah, how big this can be.
Exactly, exactly. Because initially you can only start with something small. You won't be able to do everything. So start with very focused customer segment and problem statement and solution and how it will fit. Here and there, things will change later on.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sure. Dr.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Hi. So there are two questions that I have. One is, see, mine is an OPC. OPC is a one-person company under the company's law, which means that there is only one director. So if there is, a thing like a one director, how does it affect this entire scenario, of investing and so on and so forth? A, does it? And B, how? If it does, then how? So
It's
that's
very simple. It's very simple.
Yes.
You will need to convert to private limited.
No, mine is a private limited, but it's a one-person company, private limited.
No, so that won't fly. That won't fly for investment.
Okay.
So
So it has to be.
Yeah.
So at least 2 or more directors, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's one. Okay, that's good to know. And the second one, my question is, what is the? I don't know whether I should be using this term, but what is the kind of interference that an investor has into his or her investment? So in the company,
It's very individual specific. Depends on their own style. If they are of a style that they micromanage everything, then they will always on your shoulder, looking at everything you are doing. If they are of the thesis that I have invested in you do the work and show me the result, then they may only come in when you ask them, oh, I need help. Otherwise, they expect you to report and tell them that everything is going fine. They may check in, but if everything is going fine, why will they rock the boat? It will be against their interest. So it is very individual specific. Ask the portfolio companies, what is the style?
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Sure. Devika? Okay, her hand is raised, but
yes.
Maybe some audio problem or something.
Probably. Yes, sometimes. So there's one question on the chat also. Shall I read that?
Yep.
It's from Amrut. Will it work if along with the pitch deck, we send some small customer persona and journey in a video?
I think it is too much information. Pitch deck should be enough. Don't overload them with information. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I have a question. Can I?
Sure. I think, yes.
Devika, you can type your question, and yes, you can ask your question. You can ask your question.
As you said in the beginning, it's very important for us to understand our competitors, right? So we need to do a lot of research, whatever, to understand your competition well. So similar way, is it also essential for us to do a research or I don't know, understand or research, I don't know what is the right term, about investors?
Ideally should. You ideally should. Most of the times people don't do it because they are so desperate and money can be scarce at times, but ideally you should.
Okay, so that's by way of looking at their portfolio companies where they've invested, talking to the portfolio companies, and the secondary data which is available.
Yes.
Mix up all these, right?
There can be many investors who have a very negative, predatory style. The terms can be very investor friendly and not, entrepreneur friendly. there can be many hidden issues that will crop up later on. So you should do some research. You should not just go in with someone very blindly. It's a very important relationship. It will affect everything. And you have created something and you will invest so much sweat and blood into that. It cannot just go to waste just because of some, very, I would say, I don't know the word, but, an issue like that because of their personality or whatever. So or their bad practices or whatever, right? So you should do some research. On that, I would also say, investors come in different shapes and sizes apart from the angel and institutional category. I mean, within institutional, it could be VC institutional or corporate institutional. They are also, what is their thesis? What is their game plan? You need to understand. I mean, are they looking for something very quick? Are they willing to be a little bit more patient? They all have their own stuff, right? And you need to know that, how they have done it with other companies before you sign up with them. Otherwise, if there is misalignment of how you want to grow and how they want you to grow, it could create conflicts later on.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. That's very
I think there's one question from Devika on the chat. Shall I read that?
Yeah.
So this would be the last question before we close. What about entrepreneurs dealing with CSR initiatives? How would you measure impact and how do you pitch to investors? What would be your advice?
So I'm trying to understand the question. The impact measurement will depend on the particular thing, the CSR activity, right? It could be in terms of, depending on what kind of activity it is, it could be in terms of people who got financially literate or independent. It could be how many jobs got created or how many people found jobs, right? So whether you are in training, whether you are in environmental impact, how many acres of or liters of water was saved or acres of land was cleaned up. So there can be many such things and it will depend on the activity. Now, from the investor perspective, again, there are some investors who are impact oriented. They ultimately do want some return, but maybe not as high, and they are willing to maybe a little bit more patient because they also want impact. So you need to align with them, but I still probably didn't get the question whether there's a different way to report impact to investors or to measure it for the CSR activity. I think they should understand. If they are an impact investor, they should understand and it will all align in a similar fashion. So that's my guess. I hope it answers what you are looking for. And we can talk separately also, because right now you are facing trouble with audio, so we can talk on phone or later on.
We can talk separately because there are impact funds and all of that also.
Yes, exactly.
Share data on that. Yes.
Exactly.
So I think
all right.
Yes.
I hope it was useful.
Yes, it was super useful going by the feedback and going by the engagement from the audience. The chat was constantly active. Maybe you'll look at it later. So it's my pleasure to kind of not close the session, but my pleasure to thank everybody who have come together to organize this session. So let me start with Abhimanyu, the E-Club and students who helped us, our interns. Thanks to Dr. Love for actually kind of, I know how schedules are nowadays. It's absolutely, it's beyond mad, if I may say so. And I asked Love even yesterday, I said, Love, you're sure you want to do this? He said, yes, we'll go ahead. So thank you, Love, for coming in. And thanks to Sukanya for coming in and anchoring the session. A very big thank you to everybody. Yes. I would like to take this opportunity to quickly give you a glimpse of the events that are lined up for the next few months, in the month of September and October. Let me share my screen. I'll just take one more minute. I know I'm keeping you from your dinner, but please bear with me. Yes. Yeah. So, okay, as usual, this is not going into presentation mode, but yeah. So on 11th of September, we have a special session on business models, on how you can build your business model. And we have speakers who are going to talk about circular business models as well as lean business models and building your business model canvas. We will...
It's not visible.
The screen is not visible? Okay, so I'll share the calendar with you on 11th September. Please block your calendars for 11th September and yeah, I'll stop share then if this screen is not visible. Please block your calendars for 11th September and I'll share the detailed calendar on the WhatsApp group. Thank you, everybody. And thank you for being such a wonderful audience. I know we've got some newcomers and new people. Welcome to the group. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.